Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my top 5 games of the year. I personally felt that 2017 was very good to us when it came to gaming. Now, as always with any of my lists, number 1 gameplay is going to be right here, and number 2, keep in mind this is my personal list, it's not the definitive top 5 games of the year. Please share your lists in the comments down below, but now I'm going to dive right into mine. Number 5 is Tekken 7. This is a game that caught me by storm. I was really surprised by it, and you've heard me talking about it on the channel progressively, especially with the announcement of Soul Calibur 6. A lot of my enjoyment at first from Tekken 7 stemmed from what I didn't really enjoy in Injustice 2. I grew up and enjoyed fighters primarily that weren't about projectiles across the arena and more so about getting up close, reading the enemy's moveset, countering, stuff along those lines. Tekken 7 offers all of that, and I felt that it was always enjoyable to hop online and get into a match, try out new characters, and master them. It's not like it offered anything new in the fighting genre, but I just felt it was a damn good fighter. It was finely tuned. I didn't feel there was one character that was better than another. It was more so who's good with what character, and you'll always find a character in the roster that fits your play style. I also really appreciated the expansive customization system that the game offered. And it also is free of microtransactions in a game that easily could have had them everywhere. Number 4 is Resident Evil 7. It must be the lucky number 7 this year. Resident Evil 7 is a game that scared the life out of me the first time I played it through, and then I played it 2 more times. I've always been fascinated by game development when it comes to survival horror titles. You have to have that right amount of ammo in every situation, and to get it just right, I imagine is really tough, so I'm always blown away when a game does get it just right like Resident Evil 7 did. But it's not just the gameplay aspect they also nail, but it's the story that I found intriguing and pulled me along despite having some crap in my pants. I enjoyed the almost old school nature of it in certain ways, like the way you upgraded weapons, the way collectibles were scattered throughout the level, a lot of things you could actually miss in the game, but how it managed to modernize the franchise, take it into first person, and still please many hardcore fans, longtime fans, and also new incoming fans. On the audio side of things with this game, it was so satisfying, like hearing a gooey monster drop from the ceiling, the crack of weapons, the stellar performances, stuff along those lines that really took the experience from one level to the next. And especially in horror, audio is key, where it's not just a loud screeching sound that actually scares you, but what you're seeing mixed with that beautiful audio that makes for one terrifying experience. Number 3 is going to be Danganronpa V3. I've said for a while now Danganronpa is a must-play series, and after V3, that's it, man. You have to play this series. It's one of the best video game story arcs I have ever experienced, and especially when it comes to modern gaming, as we're seeing a lot of new IPs roll out, this is easily one of the tops out there. It has a very bold beginning for a game and an even more bold move at the end of the game that has been very polarizing for the fan base. Lots of people don't like it, lots of people love it. I happen to be on the side of the fence that loves it. Danganronpa is often associated with the visual novel series, and there still is a lot of reading in this game, but it is more of a game than any other entry in this series. There's plenty of mini games, and once you actually beat the game, a whole brand new game unlocks where you play a Danganronpa RPG, where you can crawl around various dungeons, level up characters, play a board game. There's a dating simulator as well, which I know a lot of people are probably cringing at, but it lets you get to know the characters better. So there's a lot to this package beyond just a wonderful story with, in my opinion, the best cast in the entire Danganronpa series, and there's like 70 to 80 characters in it, so yeah, that's saying a lot. If you are interested in Danganronpa, please do not start with V3. Go all the way back and start with 1. The entire series is absolutely incredible, so don't worry, but once you get to V3, Number 2, Persona 5. Easy choice, man. I'm a giant Persona fanboy, but Persona 5, the fact that it makes a 130 plus hour story cohesive, sensical, and also very enjoyable is marvelous and also shocking nowadays. You'd think in that 130 hours of just story that at some point in time there's gonna be that slow moment, there's gonna be that time where you go, okay, it's losing me here, but there's always something going on that's interesting and engaging. Persona's a different kind of RPG. It's not about the choice and consequence and how you alter the people around you, but how you control your daily life. Are you gonna work a part-time job? Are you gonna hang out with friends? Are you gonna work on something in your room, like creating new stuff to enter a dungeon, or fixing a TV or a video game system up to spend time with your friends in different ways. That's where the role-playing comes into Persona. There were many laughs had throughout this story, serious moments, heartbreaking moments, characters that you inevitably become attached to, just like in any Persona game, because you spend so much time with them and they make it such a human, friendly experience, which is something that games simply can't do outside of Persona. The reason for that is because of how it's structured. You're living a daily life at school, but also on the side are doing something involving dungeons, and in this case, you're the Phantom Thieves, so you're practically superheroes, rising to power, falling to power, trying to balance fame and fortune, along with trying to do the right thing. The audio director needs a raise because they managed to pick the most eargasmic music for video games in this series, and they know it's gonna repeat for hundreds of hours on end. How do you know I'm gonna still be singing this song way after I even beat the game? I think in a way that screams masterful audio design, that they know exactly what fans of the franchise are gonna love and continue listening to in-game for so many hours and not complain at all. Because that's one of the biggest issues with JRPGs. They're so long that you start hearing the same tunes over again, you feel like you're losing your mind. But with Persona, it's different. You never had that problem. And now, number one, Matty's Game of the Year. I haven't made it a secret at all. I've talked about it many times on the podcast, and usually I like to keep it close to my chest and surprise you guys, but who gives a fuck, honestly? NieR Automata. This is a game I've been preaching about since I beat it in March. NieR is one of the best video games I have ever played in my life. The reason I say that is because it's everything I love in a video game. It's kind of an open world, but mainly a hub world in which there's lots of side quests in there. And while the side quests don't reinvent the wheel in the terms of gameplay mechanics, it's black-hearted writing that grabs you and shocks you in some way, shape, or form and says, this world is screwed that you are in. But it's also developed by Platinum Games, so you have that silky smooth 60 FPS combat, but since it's in an open world and you're switching weapons, there's different pods you can use, which are abilities like roping someone in or shooting them with a laser from a mile out. It becomes incredibly satisfying. But the game also knows how to have fun with little Easter eggs. You can go fishing. And while all this is wonderful, what takes the cake for me is the story, the way it's told. Everything in this universe is so important because it all makes sense. From the loading screens to the way you respawn if you die, where you step out of a pod and your consciousness is placed inside a brand new android body, and that loading screen serving as the booting up sequence for your new android body. It may sound like little things, but over the course of the game, as you get to the 50, 60 hour mark, it adds so much to it because you're immersed, you're there. And like I said, the way the story is told, where it's in multiple playthroughs, not like an Undertale, where it's really your first playthrough, a new game plus as a new character, seeing new little cutscenes throughout, and then a third playthrough, which is a brand new protagonist and a whole new story in its own right. Not only its style, but the way NieR takes seemingly side characters and manages to make them into main characters, the most important characters in the game, in ways you simply can't expect. And it just won Best Soundtrack at the Game Awards, rightfully so. There is no other game more deserving than NieR Automata. The vocals mixed with its excellent tunes. I can't go on enough about how emotional this game's soundtrack can make you. Even when you're at the resistance camp. I don't know how they even come up with these types of tunes, but they're beautiful. They're unlike anything I've ever heard in a video game before. And I'm a natural sucker for vocals inside video game music, but this is something that's just pure art. So between the fast-paced action, the enjoyable open world, the wonderful writing, a new style of story, one of the best soundtracks in a video game I've heard, NieR Automata earns the spot as not only one of the best games I've ever played, but easily, without a doubt, I knew from the start, my game of the year in 2017. So that'll do it for me, folks. I'd love to hear your game of the year list in the comments down below. Fire away, everybody. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.